Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our channel again. I'm Zelma Johnson, and if this is your first time here, we're talking self care. And this week, we're going to be talking about still hurts, be honest. A lot of times we do get hurt. Um, and this is where we focus on helping people to heal and to grow, to regain their peace with intentional self care. It is so many times that we get hurt in life. And as we get hurt, um, until we heal, we can't heal anywhere. And I discovered this really, truly by accident. Some of you that know me, and some of you that may not know me, I'm going to introduce you to something that happened to me. I actually developed a leg condition, and this condition had my flesh had well, actually I was allergic to myself because I had a wound on my leg and it wasn't getting well. And I'm thinking, you go to the doctor, they treat you, they do whatever, and you will eventually start to heal. That didn't happen. And what happened was for 7 years I wore a cast on my leg to help prevent uh, anything from spreading to anyone else, and plus to keep all of the secretions um, in one place. And I would change my cast once a week. And this went on for 7 years. I mean, this was the most painful, excruciating, devastating thing I had ever gone through in my life. And I didn't know why I wasn't healing. I didn't know why I wasn't getting better. So I had a friend of mine, and she said, "You know what? If you do not go to the doctor, you're going to lose your leg." Now, I'm seeing a doctor every week. They're changing my bandages, but that's about all they were doing. So, for about, might as well say, maybe 5 years, all they did was change my bandages and say, "You're okay, let's go." Okay. So, as that progressed, it was like so painful, disgusting. And when I did go to the doctor, they immediately hospitalized me. And this was a shock because since I had been treated, no one ever told me that I was really sick. I mean, I didn't feel sick, I didn't look sick, but I had this thing on my leg and we couldn't figure out what it was. It didn't stop me from working. I don't know how it didn't, but it didn't. And during this process, I would never heal. I would keep getting worse. So the first thing they did is they finally discovered that I had had MRSA. You hear this? MRSA for 6 years, 5 years. Well, actually 6 years because it took me a whole year to heal. So after I got out of the hospital, um, well, first of all, let's start at how they treated me. First, they gave me about 5 antibiotic flushes to get all of the MRSA out of my system. It actually took 5 antibiotic flushes, which means 5 of those IV bags. Yeah, 5 of those. And actually, I had so many IVs until my veins collapsed because it was so intense and they had, like ran all the way through it. So finally, they got to the point where um, it was beginning to start the process of getting into my system and flushing it out. But because of the fact um, of my leg being in the condition that it was in, I was deemed to be, um, I guess you would call it, I was a fear of falling. They had me as a fall risk. That's the better way to put it. So as being a fall risk, I said, "Oh God, that means I have to go and be in a facility until I got out of this condition." So sometimes when you get into bad situations, you kind of have to look at yourself as this is my healing moment. Not really healing moment, but this is the time for me to, I called it my Club Med visit, because during that Club Med visit, I was able to lose weight, which I had been trying exhaustingly to lose some weight. So I actually lost weight. Actually, I got down to a weight that I was really comfortable with. Now I've gained all that back, but I did, get down to a comfortable weight. Um, I was married at the time, and I really thought, my life was okay. I didn't realize that the whole time that I was hospitalized, which was a total of hmm, close to 45 days, that I only had my staff came to visit me. Um, one of our church members came to visit me. Um, and I believe my husband came to visit me twice. At that time, did I care? I didn't even realize that he hadn't visited me until I was getting ready to be discharged. And I forgot that the fact that he was a chaplain. I'm just gonna just spill some of the beans. And being a chaplain, that means you can visit a hospital or a facility anytime you get ready. But my focus wasn't there on what wasn't happening. My focus was on I can't write because I had broken my wrist. I fell, I believe, maybe 2 or 3 months before, maybe longer. And I broke my wrist. And in the meantime, while I broke my wrist, I had a crazy surgeon which decided to put a plate in my wrist without my knowledge. So I'm going through medical issues and hospital problems and whatever have you. And with this plate in my wrist, I wasn't really able to function. I really wasn't able to write. So there was a physical therapist there. And instead of doing therapy on my leg, which I really didn't need, she did therapy on my hands. And I hope I'm not getting anyone in trouble, but what she did is she brought my hand back to a condition where I could use it and gave me the therapy that I really needed at the time. Because the only reason I really couldn't use my leg is the fact that I had this great big gigantic wound on my leg. So it wasn't very much she could do with that. Besides help me to make sure I could walk. And I mean, this was devastating because I had to have a cane and a walker. And, sometimes when things like that happen, it's like we be in a state of denial. And being in a state of denial is not good. I was, oh, I am too young for a cane. I am too young for a walker, and you're not going to make me use one. This was my attitude. I mean, that might have been a good attitude and it could have been a condemning attitude, but because of that attitude, I said I wasn't going to use those things and I'm going to walk and this is going to be okay. So I kind of thought that would work. So when I got home, I felt different. I didn't know exactly what was going on, but it was time for me to do something different. And the first thing that happened, I realized that no one respected me on my own property. or our own property. Uh, I had just had the yard remodeled, and I'm going to say my ex husband had yard sales every weekend. And some of the people were so disrespectful to it just didn't make any sense. So I'm trying to recuperate, and I see the money that I had spent where they were just disrespecting and walking all over it in a manner where it would be considered to be rude. So I said, you know what, this needs to stop. This is crazy. You know, not only do you not have any respect for me being ill, recuperating, but also you don't have any respect for the property as well. So I was upset and I expressed it. And thank God he moved it. But you have to really realize that not only was that a part of me beginning to exert my self-care, because you have to think of yourself, because sometimes nobody's going to even think of you but you. So if you don't take care of your star player and speak up for yourself, um, people will tend to run over you or do whatever. So I thought, everything was okay. I came home and they said, well, we can't discharge you until you have a walker to go home. I took the walker and set it in the corner and proceeded with whatever it was that I was going to do for the day. But going through all that, um, I changed doctors because I did discover that my doctor, all he was doing was changing my bandages. He wasn't really treating me. He was just changing bandages. As a matter of fact, I had one doctor that had me to come in 3 times in one week, and all he did was change my bandage. And I said, you know what, this got to stop. So as I was in the facility, I heard that there was this extraordinary wound doctor that worked miracles with her clients. And I refused to go back to the doctor I had seen. So what happened was is I snuck and I found her name, and at the time they said, well, she's booked, she's not taking any new patients. But God always makes a way. So when I called, it was right at the nick of time and the right timing for her to accept me as a new patient. And she did. And I didn't know what to expect because she was a podiatrist. She wasn't a wound care doctor, she was a podiatrist. But they said that she was good at what she did. I said, fine, let's go. I mean, I can't do any worse than what I'm doing. But so after that fiasco, my old doctor came to see me. And I told him, I said, you know what? You're no longer my doctor. So he looked over at my leg because she was beginning to work on it. And he said, hmm, your leg doesn't look any better to me. I was flabbergasted. I said, no, this man did not say this to me. But yes, he did. And I'm really getting you to see how self care and healing play hand in hand. So I felt really bad because he had said that, but also this was the first time I was meeting her. So what he actually saw was nothing but getting rid of the infection and someone changing my bandages until somebody began to treat me. And there's one thing that I must tell all of you, and I want you to be aware of. You can go to the doctor, but is he treating you? I went to the doctor for 5 years, but were they treating me? No, they were changing my bandages and throwing some cream on it and calling themselves treating me. But in the process, this lady took time to actually treat what was going on in my leg and find out what was going on because my leg would only heal when I took antibiotics. And in taking antibiotics, that means I was healing. But if I stopped taking antibiotics, I wouldn't heal. And that was because of the fact I was allergic to what I was secreting out of my body. So she found a medication. Not that I like medications, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. I took it, and it was a, you won't even believe this, it was a medication for acne. But what it did was it kept my leg from reacting to whatever that was coming out of it. I had actually had to change my bandage 3 times a week. So I had a nurse that came in twice a week, and my third visit was with my doctor. And she treated me, and this is going to sound crazy, to heal my skin or to heal my leg because about, I would say, 2 inches, almost 3 inches, had been eaten away. And she treated me like a burn pain patient to um, get my skin to heal, which means I had to be scrubbed. And when you scrub open wound, that's painful. So I'm gonna be brave and I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm allergic to lidocaine, so I can't have anything on it because this was my thought. I was allergic to lidocaine. Um, I think during the whole session, I was up on top of the ceiling holding the lights mentally because it hurt just that bad. And she didn't tell me like the first time she abided by my wishes. The second time she said, well, we're going to put this on your leg. We want you to wait a couple of minutes and then we'll come back in and do your treatment. Little did I know that she was actually putting lidocaine on and I wasn't allergic to it. But I'm saying all this to say this: it's your frame of mind that helps you to heal. It took me a year from that time frame in order to begin to heal. So God put me through a process where I had to, my whole life turned upside down, but I was still healing. I was healing from my wound. I was healing from my relationship. I was healing from the inside out. And that's when you begin to know that if you are not happy, you cannot heal. If you are broken, until you treat that brokenness, you will not heal. So what I'm trying to say tonight is that a lot of our illnesses, a lot of our aches and pains and woes is coming from the inside because we're not healed. And we need to take time and not just do surface talk, not just pretending, but to be honest with ourselves. And that's when the healing begins. You begin to deal with what's going on with you. What's the reason why I'm struggling? How can we move forward? Is because something is still hurting when we're not moving and when we're not progressing. So, something you never fully deal with is something that's covered up, something that's hidden within you. We have to get them out because a lot of us are just functioning and hurt. And I had to realize I was really functioning and hurt because I didn't even think about all the pains and all the discomforts and all the bad situations that were going on in my life. But I was still hurting, still smiling, but hurting. Still hurting from rejection, disappointment, betrayal. Still hurting because of what people said and what they did and all this. And over time, um, you get used to carrying it. But to be honest with myself and with you, if you don't treat the hurt, you won't heal. So that's what self-care is treating the hurt, is being honest with yourself. If you are not treating what's bothering you, As I said, I went to the doctor for 5 years and all he did was change my bandage. He was looking at me, he was seeing me, I had an appointment, but he wasn't treating me. So we have to know how to deal with getting the help that we need to heal. Sometimes we may need to talk to a therapist. Sometimes we may need to find the right doctor. Sometimes we need separation from our relationships in order to heal and to think about it. We even need to know how to love, how to trust, how to respond to people. All of that is a part of self-care. That's your mental self-care. Do you deal with your pain, or do you still build your life around protecting yourself from dealing with the pain and the pressure? Sometimes we have to come to that awakening because a lot of us wear masks. Yeah, we all wear masks sometimes, but what we have to do is we don't want to feel weak. Some people stay busy in order not to deal with their hurt, and some become silent. But in order for us to heal, sometimes in order for us to lose weight, we have to be honest with ourselves. I had to introduce myself to me because I was ready to heal. I was ready to move forward. It takes time, it takes work, um, it takes engagement. So I want you guys to know that whatever it is that's bothering you, if you're eating too much, what's the real reason? If you're drinking too much, what's the real reason? If you're not dealing with problems, what's the real reason? Once we get to the root of the problem, you can change your life. You can change your life because your weaknesses are where you find the strength to heal. So, healing doesn't mean that you're weak. Crying doesn't mean that you're weak either. Admitting that you're hurt is not weakness. That's strength because it takes a lot of strength for you to come out and express yourself honestly. It's easy to say, "Oh, I'm doing fine." And no, you're not. And I had to do that today. I said, I'm here. I'm not myself, but I'm moving through it. And I thank you for your help, your love, and your support in understanding that I know I'm not okay. But if I continue to work at it, eventually I'm going to get there. So, what we need to do is stop pretending that you're okay when you're not. And when you're not okay, find out why you're not okay so you can begin to heal and stop hurting. So that's all our message is about today is healing. You cannot pour into everybody else while you are emotionally empty. We have to heal first. So all I want you to know is to stop running from what hurts, stop minimizing it, stop burying it, stop pretending that it doesn't matter. Because what you ignore does not disappear. It shows up later, much bigger than it was in the first place. So I want you to understand this is that you deserve healing. I deserve healing. Everybody deserves to be healed. And I want you to do one thing intentionally, and that is start journaling. Take a break. And discovering who you are is a real discovery. And the more you discover yourself, the better you feel about yourself. Your confidence increases. You deal with, oh, I'm scared of the camera. Oh, it's really hard for me to be right here in front of this camera, but I am here today, is because I've been given a mission. I've been given a job. I've been given a situation where we have to learn how to take care of ourselves. We have to learn to put ourselves as a top priority. Find out what triggers you, why it triggers you. How can I get rid of it? Why is this bothering me? Find someone you can trust to talk to, someone that's not going to spread or, just put your business out in the street. Spend time alone with yourself and with your thoughts. Healing starts when you stop avoiding yourself. So, in closing, I want you to stay strong. We'll be talking about becoming a new you. No apologies, no guilt, no shrinking yourself, because growth requires change. And some of you are entering a brand new season. And I just want to take out time to, because a lot of people think self care is manicures, hairdos, facials, massages, and that's it. Or just dealing with aches and pains that come through your body. But your mental, your physical, your financial, your environment, all of that plays a part in your healing, your happiness, and your self care. So I want you to think about what's hurting you today, what's preventing you from healing. And I want you to stay connected with us on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. I might be late here and there, but I'm going, I'm working on that. I have a tendency to be late for everything. And I also, because of this particular uh, statement about me and being on time, I decided, I said, you know what? My hearse is going to have a flat on the way to my funeral, so I can be late. I won't know, but, that's how badly I need to work on my timeliness. So as I work on that part of me still, because we can't be perfect, we always have something to improve and to work on. But I want you to stay connected. Drop a line or say something. I need healing. I want to heal. Because that part of you triggers the rest of your body. Because if you're not happy on the inside, you definitely can't heal. Your blood pressure can't go down. Um, Nothing can happen until you heal yourself from the inside out, from all pains. And I had to really do a whole lot of self examining in order to forgive a lot of people and to forgive myself. So when you think about it, you heal from the inside out. And when you start dealing with the things that bother you and begin to face them, it's like facing your demons. I'm not going to let this problem bother me anymore because I'm doing this and I'm doing that because my peace is more important than confusion and conflict. So I'm going to say bye for now. We'll be back on our self care talks next week. And I want you to join in. Like and share if this video has helped you or begin to start you to thinking about, I can change. I can really do that. So I'm going to say bye for now. Stay connected because we're going to heal together because nobody is perfect. And at all times, we all need to heal from something. But at the most part, we want to be healthy enough on the inside so we can heal on the outside. So, bye for now. This is Selma Johnson, your self care coach, saying bye for now. Hoping to see you next week. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And we'll be talking more about these topics as we go along. We do have a free assessment that we do have, and it's called a coaching call. I will provide the link below. So if you do want to book a session or something like that after you see this video, you can. Um, if you have any questions, don't feel intimidated. Drop them in my messages or DM me or whatever, and we can get started on creating the, the new you because you carried pain way too long and now it is time to heal. With all that being said, we're going to close out for now. And I want you, no matter where you are, know that somebody cares and you can heal from the inside out. And we're here to help you along that journey. Bye for now. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, or no matter what time that you're seeing this video. Remember, take care of your star player, and that's you. You only get one. Bye for now.